What would it be like if you really could manifest your dreams instantaneously? If you so intimately knew the details and had the tools to be able to do this? Well, I'm Cathleena Hailley, and I want to take you on a journey today into this very process that is innate to you, that is your birthright. We are amazing, creative beings. And actually, we're really not even creating. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what is happening and to understand this process a bit more. So this talk is called Truth, Reestablishing Instant Manifestation. And this, to me, for those of you that had seen the first video that I've done, and if you haven't, I would suggest that you do watch it, because this that I'm getting ready to do is both a prequel and a sequel to that. So we're kind of taking you on this journey of our development. So this form here is source. So this is source. This is what source looks like to me. It's kind of this gel liquid form, this giant form. It's a little bit more orange than this, but this is kind of what it looks like. So source had a thought. And this thought or vision became this giant geometric shape. And so very intricate, very purposeful. And this thought is the mental masculine aspect of source, or the crystalline aspect, or blueprint. So imagine that you are this architect. And so an architect would have this vision of like a building or a bridge. And so this architect would design this and draw it, and it'd be very specific. But this architect wouldn't just build or design this building or bridge just flat. They would put into consideration characteristics about this building or bridge, like where it would be located, what kind of ground it would be on, what kind of geographical influences it would have, winds and so on, and whatever might be involved in it. So in essence, what this architect is doing is he's adding characteristics or life to this structure. Well, source also then takes your blueprint, your crystalline blueprint, and adds life. So the life or the characteristics that source is now going to add to this masculine mental blueprint is your unique signature. And this, in essence, is the spiritual aspect or divine feminine aspect of source. This is the characteristics of your unique signature expression, is the divine feminine. So source, so you have your masculine mental blueprint, and you have your spiritual feminine, basically life, that you're adding together, and this is the crystalline DNA. Okay? Crystalline aspect is the mental masculine, the DNA is the spiritual divine feminine. So we add those two together, and now come here in the physical body. So in the physical world, this mental, spiritual aspect of source come together, creating crystalline DNA, and this enters the womb water of the mom. In the womb water of the mom is also the physical DNA, which is the masculine, feminine coming together. So now the two then intermix. So now we've got the crystalline DNA, the physical DNA infusing in the womb water of the mom. At the 3-week mark of our physical development, chronological development, which I find very interesting, is at the 3-week mark, because 3 is source. Anytime you see the number 3, it equals source, because it's the here, there, the neither here nor there, the all. So at the actual 3-week mark of our physical development, what happens is 3 layers develop on the physical. I have here 3 layers develop in the physical body, and 3 layers develop in the energetic. And it's interesting enough because these actually mirror each other. What you're going to find is that everything is about mirrors, everything's about geometry, and it's the idea of same as above is below, the micro, macro, so on. So the same thing in the physical and the spiritual development. So what happens is at the 3-week mark, what you've got is you've got these cells that are encased in this enclosure, and they've been dividing. And then what begins to happen is they begin to turn in on themselves, and they create a tube. Out of this tube comes the 3 layers in the physical, which is the ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. In the energetic, this tube creates what's called a torus, and it's a torus motion. This is the mental, physical, spiritual. The ectoderm ends up creating the brain and the nervous system, which in essence is the mental blueprint. The mesoderm ends up creating the bones and the muscles, which is the physical aspect. And then the endoderm ends up creating the digestive system or the respiratory system, which is the spiritual or basically the life of the physical body. So these are mirroring each other. Now, this torus actually ends up creating, it's a torus motion, and it looks like this. And it's like a donut where you have in and out of this donut, no beginning, no end. Okay? And this torus is created, and it's created by the movement within our, it is the movement within our physical heart. So it's the mental masculine blueprint and the spiritual feminine, basically life coming together. They create this torus motion, which creates a field, and this field is called a unified field. And this is within our heart. It's also in our auric field. This unified field is the place where things can now show up. So the torus motion, creating the unified field, is where all things can show up. Prior to this unified field being created, no thing can show up. But now something can show up. So it's the connection of the mental masculine blueprint, adding the spiritual feminine life together, creates this field where things can now show up. It's kind of like on the earth where you have a man and a woman get together. They can make life. They don't necessarily make life, but they can. So it's the same thing as like Source. Source takes the blueprint, adds life basically to it. Now things can now show up. This is the movement within your heart. So the torus motion, creating the unified field, is the foundation of truth. And this is truth as a frequency, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in a minute. Also as an acronym, total rhythm unifying the heart, because it's unifying the heart, your heart, with the heart of Source. So at this 3-week mark, when this torus motion happens and the unified field is now created, it's completely aligned with the unified field of Source. What this basically creates, so when the unified field is created with your original blueprint of your unique signature coming together, it's completely aligned with Source. This is where all things can show up. So this is the place of absolute truth, and this is the foundation of your entire existence. Okay, so why it's a place of absolute truth is because things can now show up, and ultimately experience can now occur. If you saw my first video, and I talked a little bit about this, that Source knew itself conceptually, concept of itself. but it did not know itself experientially, the experience of itself. So it expressed out of itself, and I use the term express specifically because it's an expression. So it expressed out of itself a quality, which is you, to be basically with this blueprint that has the ability to come to this physical plane, to have an experience. Okay? And so really that's all we're here for, is an experience, and that experience is for Source to have, because we are an aspect of Source. So at this 3-week mark, when this unified field is created, absolute truth as a frequency exists, because there is this now possibility for experience to occur. Okay? And on this planet, we have what are called resonance frequencies. And Source had in mind particular resonance frequencies for Earth. It'd be the difference between like an Earth experience versus a Mars experience. And the resonance frequencies that Source had in mind for this planet is truth, goodness, beauty, love. Well, if truth is your foundation, see, it allows for goodness and beauty to be felt, that then brings love to your energy, to allow for communication to happen without manipulation, because knowing with presence occurs. So what does that mean? Well, if I am going to say something to you and I have no thing in the way, then I'm simply going to present to you. And this is this base of absolute truth, is that there is no thing, but there's all possibilities occur. So this is kind of this present moment. But what's happening now, that isn't the case, because we have all these things in the way. So what we're doing now is, most communication is manipulation, in that I'm not just simply communicating to you. I'm either trying to put something in you or take something from you, right? So I'm not in any kind of pure experience. Well, but if I am, then having this truth, this place of absolute, basically 0 point, where no thing is in the way, but all things are possible, then truth as my foundation allows for instantaneous manifestation of my dreams. And it's quite literally like having a 3D printer within your heart, that whatever you program in comes out exactly like that. But this is not what's happening. So what's happening is this unified field is becoming distorted. And so we're going to look at this. Like, what are the ways in which this unified field is becoming distorted, and what's happening? Well, let's talk a little bit about exactly how creation occurs. How do we create first, before we go into this ways in which things are distorted? So, like I said, just like the macro and micro, well, we have a thought. And this thought comes out as a geometric shape. Every thought comes out as a geometric shape. And then we have a feeling about that, whatever it is that we have this vision of. And depending on what thought we have and the intensity that we have about it, depends on what's going to show up in your physical reality. Because what happens is this thought, once you hold it for, it's a short period of time, like 14 seconds, it actually, and you're adding now, basically it's the fuel of your vision, is emotion. It's whatever emotion you have and the intensity. What it's doing is it pushes it into this unified field. And that emotion has a frequency to it. Everything is about frequency. frequency and energy. The unified field is all frequencies. That's what it is. So your thought, now you add your emotion and the intensity of whatever what the emotion is itself, the intensity of it decides what's going to come out and how fast it's going to come out. So the frequency of whatever emotion that you're having matches the frequency in the unified field, and that's what shows up in your physical world. Okay? So let's look at these three layers of this toroidal field and how they're affected, how they're distorted. So we have the mental masculine, spiritual feminine, emotional physical. So first, let's look at the mental masculine layer. So the mental masculine layer, the unified field, is affected when you don't let your spiritual aspect of source enter fully the unique blueprint, which is your physical body. Okay. So I'm this little kid, and I'm going along, and I'm playing, I'm having a good time, and suddenly I hear what it means to be a girl or a boy. And I recognize I'm not being that. So suddenly I begin to change. And maybe I stiffen up, or I start to change my behavior. Maybe I change the way I move, my expressions on my face, maybe my voice, whatever. So now this blueprint is not interacting in the way that my characteristics were meant to interact with it. Stiffened up, so on. And I have to say that this is really one of the precursors of where physical health and issues come in. Because if you think about it, that this is your spiritual aspect is basically the energetic life force of this body. And there's a specific way in which your life force is going to interact with your body. But if you're not doing that, right, because and this happens very early, young on, right, where I'm stiffening up or whatever, well, that means that some areas in this body may have life force and others don't. So all kinds of distortions begin to happen in the physical body. Just from a very physical level, I mean, your muscle systems can change, your bone structures change, but then also the same connective tissue that's wrapping all of the muscle structures, also wrapping the organ structures, it begins to shut down organ function, then you can, cellular levels change, all kinds of things begin to happen. So this is kind of precursors of things. Just by, I hear something about how I'm supposed to be, now I'm changing, okay? So this is kind of what happens. Now I want to take this on a creative level too, because this is again, the idea of, same as above is below. So if I'm now so conscious about who I am and how I'm supposed to be, now when I have a thought about basically what I want in life, most likely that thought is also going to be kind of stiff and kind of, rigid. And so I'm going to end up sort of picking things that I should do, or that's practical. Maybe it makes me money, but I'm not happy. So this is how this layer becomes distorted now, is now I'm not even picking, right, what I really desire. So I got this kind of stiff picking going on. So this is one of the first layer. So next we'll look at the spiritual or feminine layer of this, again, toroidal fields, the unified field, is affected when you do not allow your unique aspect of source to fully direct your experience. This keeps you from having your own unique experience that gives definition to emotions. Okay, so I'm this little kid, and now I'm all conscious, and so I'm stiff, and now I'm moving differently. Maybe my expressions are all different. Everything's different. And so now when I'm having what I think is an experience, well, I'm not having the experience because I'm in my head. I'm stiff. So whatever experience that I'm having and I'm giving emotion to that experience, well, that's not authentic to me. And it's probably not even an emotion. It's probably more likely that I'm having anxieties or depressions or fears, and I'm more thinking when I contain those that that's what happy is. So I'm defining happy by the containment of my depression, anxieties, or fears, most likely, because I'm in my head, I'm not being me in some way, right? So now, if in my creative process, right, so now I'm picking something that's probably very practical, and then now the fuel that I'm giving that, well, what fuel am I giving that? It's nothing that's authentic to me. So if anything, it's probably flat. You know, maybe there's no emotion. And maybe I don't even know what these emotions are. Maybe I don't even know what real happiness is, or real joy, or real love is, because it's kind of flat, depending on where I am, because I'm not even having any experience, right? So this is how the spiritual layer is now distorted. And so we get to the last layer here, which is the emotional physical creation layer of the unified field is affected when the emotions given to created things in your life are not in pure experience. And so this is just kind of a follow-up of what I just said. It's like if I'm not me, I'm stiff, whatever, I'm not in my body, now I'm having whatever these experiences are, I'm not present, I'm in my head, I'm in what I think I'm supposed to be, so what am I creating? So I don't even know what's being created. And what happens is, I mean, really where we are now is we're not creating at all. Actually, we're more trying to get ourselves out of something, mostly, right? I have a relationship I don't like, I want a new one. I got a job I don't like, I want a new one, right? So where's the creating? And even if we, you know, even when you want to get out of that, what we're doing is the choices that we're using to kind of correct that situation are based on already known beliefs, based on, again, limited belief systems of what I think I can do. So again, where's the creating? We're not creating, right? Nobody's creating. But yet we got this whole world going on. All right. So what we're going to do today is we want to clean house, so to speak, of this toroidal field. And really what we'll be doing is kind of taking out belief systems and experiences that you think you've had, whatever, in these various different aspects. We're going to bring you to a 0 point. But we're also going to bring you to what I say is like the ultimate 0 point. And what I mean by that is about a week or so ago, I had an experience where I was seated, planted within my heart, what's called the founder's flame. And it's a threefold founder's flame. And what this is it's aspects of the first individuation of source. So it's sort of separation kind of source, but that's a little more complicated. But more importantly, what it is that it is a core element of what's called the universal time matrix. So what this is going to do is I'm going to take you into an activation, and we're going to be cleaning out like this field. But because we have now access to this founder's flame, all of the timelines that you have had on this earth experience are all also going to come together and be cleared out. And where we're going to go is literally to the place kind of right before and right as your birth from source. into what's called the black womb of Source, or the no thing, to become something. Okay? Which is pretty cool, I think. Right? Yeah. Now, when we go through this, most likely you're going to have a lot of experiences on a physical, emotional, or spiritual level. Or you may have none, or you may have some, or whatever. What I'm going to ask you is to just relax and let go and just experience and let it move. Try not to grab hold of anything as it goes along, so we can kind of clear all this out, okay? And one thing I forgot to say in the beginning of this whole thing was, which I think you guys haven't been doing, but it's a little past, is not to be squeezing your brain about getting this information, because you are taking this in on many, many levels. And the whole premise of this is about truth as your foundation, which is that we are here to experience. So you are taking in this entire experience. Okay? I've thought about this a lot, and I'm going to wait for questions until after we do this, because I know that this is the right thing, and I just want to take everybody just right in to this. Okay, if everybody wants to just close their eyes and just begin to take some nice deep breaths. And we're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, and just letting go. And just keep breathing and letting go. We're beginning to interact with this blueprint, masculine mental layer, which is very dense. Beginning to release all the belief systems that I can't be who I am, it's not safe, that no one will understand me, I'll be alone, I can't survive. It's not safe. Just keep breathing. That I tried before and it didn't work. Just letting all that release. That I don't even know how. Just keep allowing all those belief systems to just simply release. Quieting down the mind. It's too scary to be myself. It's too late. I'm too old. That what's the point? Doesn't matter. Just releasing all that belief. It's too scary. I can't let go of what seems familiar. Just Just keep breathing and allowing just to let go. It's not safe on this planet. You have to stay focused, you have to stay strong. Just let your hearts open. Let the tightness that's been around your heart release. Sadness, loneliness, separation. The overwhelming fear. Just keep breathing, just letting that go. The hiding, the shrinking away. It's not safe to feel. Nobody gets me. Just keep breathing, letting that expand. All the stories of what it means to be a man, a woman, how I'm supposed to be, what things are supposed to feel like. Just keep letting go. All the places in my physical body that feel tight or felt constrained, or the ways that I've been carrying myself, my super consciousness of somebody else's view of me, my weight, my size, whatever, releasing all of that, all those belief systems. Just letting go in your body. Just letting go. Just letting go of all the story. Letting go of how you should be. All the way to your skin, your physical body. Just releasing all the layering in your physical body, all the stories Keep letting go of all the edges of your body. This container that you've been in. Just keep letting go and expanding. Just releasing. Into the energy. Coming into the 0 point. As all your timelines come together, just keep releasing, coming into this point in the center of your heart. As your awareness goes to the center of your heart, it begins to expand in this dark womb of Source, in this unified field. Just begin to feel the love. Just feel the incredible love that Source has for you. Feel the love as you Now from this place, I want you to begin to imagine every single person around you feeling free and safe and happy and doing what they love. Just imagine every person around you feeling free and happy and safe and doing what they love. And now imagine how you feel around them. How do you feel around everyone, including you? Feel safe and happy and free and doing what you love. Now imagine everybody in your state, in the state you live in, around you, feeling free and happy and safe and doing what they love. including you. Just imagine that. Imagine how you feel around them in this state yourself. How do you feel? Every person around you, in your entire state, feeling free and happy and safe, doing what they love. Now imagine your entire country. Every person in your entire country feeling safe and happy and free and doing what they love, including you. And how do you feel in this country now? How do you feel around all these people? Now imagine our planet, every person on the planet, feeling safe and free and happy and doing what they love. And how do you feel on this planet? Just feel that. Just imagine that and feel it. Keep imagining that on this planet where every person is safe and free and happy and doing what they love, including you. And how do you feel being on this planet? Just feel it. Just breathe that in. Begin to just take that frequency and that energy down into your body as your new resonance frequency of your soul signature. At this ultimate 0 point coming down into your body, to every cell in your physical body, reconfiguring your DNA to your soul signature. Settling into every cell, every quantum in your physical body now. Your divine signature as we're moving into the physical heart. Allowing yourself to settle into the physical heart. So beginning to see this horizontal beam of light come out of your physical heart. Turn slightly clockwise, and now it's beginning to turn, slightly counterclockwise, now it's beginning to turn clockwise. It's a very bright white beam of light as this golden light is coming straight through your crown. Creating almost a cross like in your heart, extending out to the edges. And this is your light body. It's now fully activated. It's infusing all the geometry of your light body into your physical body now. As you begin to settle into your seat, back down into your body, as your light body is still feeding you the geometry, and your pure consciousness is just outside your light body now in pure communication with you. I'm going to be giving you downloads. As you begin to settle back down into your body, feeling yourself sitting, begin to come more present. When you're ready, you can begin to open your eyes. Coming back into the room. How's everybody feeling?
Manifested.
Fantastic.
How are we supposed to?
I'm sorry? I'm sorry, what did you say?
How are we supposed to feel?
Not supposed to feel any way. Neutral.
Being.
Just being. Yeah.
Just being.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Any questions or observations or?
Yes, I could hardly hear you when you said, see a light coming from your heart, and then something about the crown.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say?
Repeat the question. Repeat the question.
Sure. She was asking about when I was speaking about the light coming out of your heart and then out of your crown. That's your light body. And so what I was seeing was a beam coming horizontally. It began to come horizontally out of your heart and shoot out this direction. It was a very white light, and then the golden light came straight through your crown. And what happens is that the ends stretched out from your head and below your feet, and then the one that comes out this way, they meet each other and create a geometric shape, and that's your light body. And so I could see that coming in to form. And then it was creating a geometry that was then feeding your physical body, so of your light body. And then outside of it, circular, which is your pure consciousness, which also was beginning to mingle into light body, into your physical body. So this is what's happening to everybody now. So your light bodies are on, and now your also physical body and awareness is being fed your pure consciousness as well as your light body. So basically your multidimensional self is becoming alive and aware.
Can this activate what your heart desires?
Yes, of course. Well, it's more the creative process, so that's why I went into the whole idea about the creative process and how we do it. So yes, I think when you are your unique self, then and you have a thought about that, you're going to feel an emotion. You know, could everybody feel when I was suggesting about imagining the people around you? And then the more important part was how you felt. That's why I kept saying that. It wasn't, people have this vision, and where they get hung up is when we start to say, well, that's not reality, so therefore I don't feel that. You know, well, that's just, you know, a dream. And it's like, but then if I'm not feeling it, and this is the fuel that I'm giving to my creations, again, what am I creating? So like with the person online, it's like, well, you can have whatever your heart's desire if it's you that's actually desiring it. Right?
When you said feel the people around you, I just felt like I was in a black void. I don't know why I couldn't feel the other people.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were in what's called the dark womb of Source, which is the no thing. So that makes sense. It was more of a imagery, you know, like a vision. So that would be the creative process, because what I was showing you is that when we're in that 0 point or that ultimate presence, when you have that vision and then you add emotion to it, then that's when it becomes created. So it was more about how you felt in this imagery. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. So in this, will it help you become more clear about what your vision is? Because my vision, I mean, what I want changes day to day. There's like, for me right now, too many choices. So I do nothing.
Yeah. Well, she was saying, would this help your vision of what you want to create? Because she has basically too many choices. And yes, of course, when you are your unique self, what's going to happen is that when you can feel who you are, when you can begin to ask yourself, what I did is my personal process, is I would say, why am I really doing this? What is in my heart about really doing this? Even doing this, coming here. You know, I would ask myself, why? What is my motivation? What's my true motivation for doing this? And for me, it was a genuine care. I really care about all of you and about this earth. I really do. You know, it's my passion in my heart. And so I desire. But I had to really search that, because there were layers. You know, some, well, maybe it'd be cool to, you know, stand out, make some money, you know. So we have different things in which we're motivated by. But when we can be in our heart, and that's really the idea of this. You know, this toroidal field is in your heart. This unified field is in your heart. So the thought is only the vision. Okay, there's no life to that. And that's really what I hope you guys get from this and this creative process. And this has been one of the issues on the planet, is that we're taught to use the brain, forget about the heart. But when you create, try to create from your brain, you don't have life really with it. You see, it's only a kind of a flat vision, right? You need to get your heart involved.
I've been doing that for years. I'm a graphic designer, so it comes from the head and the heart.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a difference between thinking your emotions and feeling your thoughts. Feel your thoughts. Right? It's just kind of a different direction. Sure.
What is the process like for you? What do you see? Is it in your mind's eye? Do you feel it as you're doing it?
As I'm doing this particular, the question was, what is the process for me as I'm doing this? You're talking about the activation aspect of what I just did? For me, I literally, well, what I do, I guess, as this energy healer is I match frequencies. So I'm more feel, although I see, but I see more internally. So I can see with my physical eyes things, but it's kind of the see, feel thing going on. So what happens for me is I step in and I feel the frequencies of where they are. And so my process with everyone is as soon as I stepped in, I immediately saw a field, or I felt it, and then I could see it. This field, it was like around, it looked like here, and I could see these layers, and the first layer became the mental, and what I was experiencing is I could experience the people here, and of course people coming at me. But why I was saying the things that I was saying was because these were the belief systems that you guys have, which is all the stories, I can't let go, I can't be myself because I can't da. So that's my process, is that I'm experiencing that. And so I'm saying it, because once I'm saying it, I'm matching it with you, and then you release it. Because, see, everything is about matching frequencies. This is all we're doing. Everything we're doing in human existence is matching frequencies. That's all we're doing. We're matching frequencies in order to be comfortable. The question is, what frequencies am I matching? And this is kind of the key. And you can think about just simply frequencies like emotions, just say emotions. And faster emotions or higher emotions, frequency emotions, try to raise slower ones up. It's just what happens. So say you and I come around each other and say I'm happy and you're mad. What's going to happen is my happy is going to give your mad a bump, because it's going to try to raise it up. So you really only have three choices. You either get happy with me, because it's about matching, you bring me down to mad, or you go away. That's it. And you can imagine that, right? You ever been around somebody who's mad and you're happy and they're not happy till you're mad? Right? Yeah. So everything's about that. It's all about matching frequencies. So this idea of, that's why on the planet when I try to say absolute, the only absolute is there's no absolute, because it's all frequencies and energy. This is all that's going on. So the name of the game really is 0 point, presence. And this world doesn't want us to be present. It wants to tell us many stories all the time, keep you going, get you worried, keep you in survival mode all the time, right? Well, the thing is that I began to learn is, even in the privacy of your own head, you're not honest with yourself. In the privacy of your own home, in your own head, you don't ever let go. Do you ever realize that? And see, without having truth as your foundation, this is a perpetual. So in my experience, it was like, you can have even happy things in your life going well, and find that, you somehow got this residual story wanting to play out to make you afraid, right? All the time. And why? Because it's uncertain. Well, maybe I'm not certain what's going to happen. Even though it's good, the bottom could drop out, right? But if I have truth, the frequency of truth as the foundation that I'm talking about, which is there's no thing and then there's something, well, that's ultimate presence. If I'm right here, there's no thing. Whatever I think is my life is right here, right now. This is the moment. And because we're creating, right? If I'm right here and I have this incredible vision of what I desire and I put all this emotion in it, then the next step, I could win the lottery, I could meet the person of my life, I could whatever, you see? But if I'm never present and I'm just got this perpetual thought, which is a frequency, reaching out for a match all the time, then I'm just going to keep drawing to me these frequencies to match, and I keep getting the stories over and over and over and over again until I get to zero. See?
If you had a hysterectomy and you desired to have a child again, is it possible to conceive miraculously through this activation if you believe in God and you had Messiah coming in?
Wow. That's an interesting question, isn't it? I think all things are possible. I mean, I don't know. I don't know for sure because I certainly haven't had anything like that happen. But I can tell you that I have. I've worked with somebody recently, not very long ago, and through energy removed a tumor from his knee that was cancerous, and he has it on, I guess he had an X-ray or something and proved it's gone. So I know you can do things like that. So maybe you can regrow them or miraculously. I don't know for sure, but I would say that all things are possible.
Does this meditation that you took us through, we watched it on video, does it reactivate in the same way?
The question is if,
Besides you being in person?
yes, the question is if you watch this again, will you have the same experience or have it? Yes, absolutely. Yes, because it's energy and frequency, yes. And it will intensify. That's the other thing too. And I encourage you because especially at the end, once we got to the 0 point and everybody's feeling this, we are creating that. We are setting in motion the new earth. We are creating this in energy and frequency. I don't know about you, but I felt it. It was huge light. And I saw a lot of pastel colors, which is a lot of, whenever I see the pastels, that's very emotional for me. Darker colors are physical, and then the lighter they become is spiritual. And I saw a tremendous amount, and it was so wide, and it was like this toroidal field was huge, and just, it was pretty incredible for me.
I saw the colors too.
Did you? Yeah.
The pastels, all the different rainbow pastels.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And I could feel it. It felt so light. Could you guys feel that? Well, we created that. And that's why I wanted you to hold it, because holding it just for a few seconds pushes it in that field. We've now made that as a choice for this earth. And so I hope people watch it and keep doing it.
Did you ever think of making like a CD or meditation on like Apple iTunes or something?
I haven't, but I could. Yeah, sure. This is only the beginning. I've been doing this, I've been doing energy work for about 30 years, but this particular work, I'm in Ethan's Lightworker program, and I've been doing this just maybe a year and a half, and it's very true testament to working with him, and certainly the energy transfers definitely take a lot of density out, and then, for me, it's like the floodgates, started coming in, and just the level of where my work is now and how it's expanding is exponential, and it's just evolving more and more. But I really, kind of casually said this, but I feel like that we quite literally are setting the foundation for this new earth. Reconfiguring DNA in our structures to who we really are. Learning our true ability to create. We are amazing creators, and we just simply haven't been creating. Yeah.
Do you do remote energy?
Do I do remote? Yes, I do. I do sessions on Zoom or on the phone as well. So I do, yes. Mm-hmm.
You did an acronym for truth that was total rhythm under
Total rhythm, unifying the heart.
unifying thing.
Yeah.
I've been fighting meditation, we've been around it forever. She's really taken it up. And when Ethan said tonight, like, hey, either you get it, if she's getting it and you're not getting it, you know, you could walk on down the road because, and I'm thinking, shit, we're right there. And then, and then you did your thing after he did his thing. And I really wanted to do it. So when the room went white, and then you said, imagine the whole world going white, and everybody's listening to all the people bickering and just the crazy stuff that's going on. And this is a start. You know, if every city had one person doing this, and you had enough people, we had, 20-some people in here, who knows what could happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, I imagined over in the Middle East, people stopped fighting and they going, hey. And there was like a camera in this room, like, they're doing something right there. You know, stop the fighting right here. You know, check it out. Right. So whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Thank you.
Because you made it for the first time in 30 years, I'm a believer.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. That's wonderful.
Can I keep the mic?
Sure.
So I don't know how to word this question, but you're alluding to instantaneous manifestation as a part of this lecture. Mm-hmm. So I guess what I'm getting at, like what I'm hearing from you is we've been manifesting and creating, but it's just been false in terms of its authenticity to who we're meant to be and what we're meant to create. Mm-hmm. So how do you see this playing out with, you know, the shifts in the new grid and the earth? I mean, you know, all of these different layers that we have to work on. Mm-hmm. I guess my question is, how do we maintain that? Like the work that we did today, mm-hmm. and we're all going to leave this room tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I know I know myself, I'm going to probably start to go back into some of the old patterns, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And the judgments, even though a lot of that's been cleared out. I think like we're meeting all this stuff in the field right now. And like the first thing that I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep going on, but the thing that really comes to my mind is like social media, mm-hmm. you know, and how we still have all of these reflective mirrors out there that are telling us who we need to be and what we need to do and all of that stuff. And I guess like, what do you recommend, and how do you see that playing out with the frequencies we have now and where we're headed?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a practice, actually. So, you know, you have to become aware of, first of all, what is your dominant thought? And so pay attention, like in the morning, what's the first thought that hits you when you wake up? Really pay attention to that. And, you know, be aware, what's the frequency of that thought? I mean, I began to myself realize that no matter what I did as I was progressing in this work, and one of the reasons that I haven't done, I think, this particular work even sooner than I'm doing it now, is because my dominant thought when I woke up was lack and fear and worry and, you know, feeling that I was less than somebody. But the most important thing about that was I had to realize that I had comfort in that thought. I was matching the energy of that thought. There was something comfortable about being defeated and feeling this. And this is a huge thing in us. And when I began to really look at that, because I would say for years, well, I don't want that. I want to be successful. I want to be out there and I want to be, but my dominating thought, my underlying thought was, no, you don't. You're not good enough, or it's scary, or you can't do it, or you won't make money, whatever, all these kind of thoughts with it. And I thought to myself that I wasn't working hard enough, or I wasn't doing enough in the outside world. And it wasn't until I really started to experience myself that I began to say, hold on, wow, first of all, this is my dominant thought in the morning. And then I went, you know what? I've got comfort in that thought. There's something that takes me off the hook. It's like that's what I feel is in the collective, is this thought that makes us just let go. And, without getting on kind of a soapbox, but it's one of the reasons I think we have a lot of the alcoholism and a lot of drugs and a lot of things going on, is because this being the underlying thought that, I'm already a failure, I can't get past it no matter what I do, then you just give in and you don't care and it becomes flat. And you figure, okay, entertainment or fun, joy is, I'll drink or I'll do whatever or I'll do nothing. It's like I do nothing, right? That's what we feel. Well, I began to really look at that. I don't drink or anything like that. I don't do any of this kind of thing. I don't. And so I kind of cleared a bunch of things out. And once I got to my own dominant thought and I realized that, wow, I had comfort in this, that's when I took a look at that and I went, wow, you know what? I don't want to have comfort in this. Why do I have comfort in this? What am I really saying? And that was hard. That was really hard to move past that because the collective does have that a lot. And that's what you do feel, I think, out when you go out in the world. And so you have to really talk to yourself and ask yourself, what do I really want? And ultimately what you're doing is you're bringing yourself into the present moment. It's a way of actually bringing yourself to 0 point, because there's an illusionary place of getting there. The illusionary place is that I'm at home and I'm quiet and I'm by myself. But if your brain just keeps going and there's a story playing out, you're not at 0 point. So you think that you're creating, because that's what I kept doing. I had this underlying thought going on of this failure thing, but I'm out there doing tons of stuff. And things were showing up, but they wouldn't get a momentum. And I couldn't understand why. And it wasn't until I began to really look at this. And so that's the thing and that takes a lot of practice. And as I was doing that, a tremendous amount of emotions came with it too. A lot of crying. A lot of letting go of what that whole story was, of the failure. And it was, in this lifetime of what I've experienced as a kid and the different things and the stories that were, involved. And then, of course, it actually went past lives, too, where I could feel different things that were connecting. And so letting yourself, that's what we were doing here, too, okay? So when I said to you that when we're kind of cleaning house of this field, and you would probably have these experiences and these things coming through, don't grab hold, just let them move. Well, this is the process too. It's like understanding your dominating thought and then allowing the emotions of why that's there to simply move. Not grab hold. It gets a little tricky because in the collective, we keep grabbing hold, right? We let a bunch go but we grab hold again, into this victim or failure. And it is pretty strong. It still will play out with me. I can be in a place like this, everything's beautiful, wonderful, and I'll go back and all the stories will start playing. Did you do something wrong? But now I have this great tool that I either allow those emotions, because the thing is, here's the thing about frequencies. So imagine if you're at 0 point and ultimate truth, that means that there's no thing there, but then there's all possibilities. Well, imagine in your auric field or in your energy, even in your physical body, in your physical cells, since everything is about frequencies or energies, So imagine that these experiences that you've had in your life are not just what you think you're going through up here. They're actually residing in parts in your physical body, bits of these frequencies. And they are like little magnets that are attracting more of those same frequencies to you. So it's kind of like if I have fear in me, and imagine, say we'll use sort of a linear line. And so imagine that I have this much fear in me, and I come near you and you have this much fear in you. Now I have this much fear in me, okay? But if I have no fear in me and I come near you and you have fear, I'm going to experience it, but it doesn't have anything to attach to. You see what I mean? So this is this kind of idea, again, about, it's not just about getting present, it's about cleaning house these belief systems that have frequencies to them that have been residing in you. This is how, when you talk about physical and physical body and health and well-being in the physical body, this is one of the most important ways. You've got to eliminate the frequency. We just talk just cancer for a second. It actually is not that difficult to take cancer out of the body. The more difficult thing is changing the frequency of what it's in. And this is what happens when people sometimes they'll have these recoveries where they'll go in remission, they'll come back. It's because they didn't change the frequency. Because everything's about frequency. So that's this idea of kind of clearing this unified field. The unified field, think about it as your field of choices, right? So if I have all these things in there that I don't even know are in there, and then I have a thought, I'm holding this thought for this short period of time, and I've got this emotion, well, guess what's going to come out in my world? See? So it's a practice. It is something, and it's not, again, this isn't heady. I mean, it may seem, but feel it. It's this. You're getting this on many levels, right? It's really just all about what is your experience. Have an experience. Recognize that there's a difference between being here, thinking I'm having an experience, to really having an experience of me. It's brand new. Make sense? Anything else? Anybody's experience of today? Oh, sure. You can have a mic.
So the experience for today was seeing the field. Mm-hmm. Pink was the color the pastel pink was the color that came for me, and just an overwhelming sense of love.
Fantastic.
Almost to the point of tears, but it was just love. And to speak to your point about the instant manifestation and clearing out those beliefs, I had to give a presentation last week, and I was nervous about it. So the fear of being seen and heard. And I knew that I had a message that I wanted to put out there, but I also had the competing belief that I didn't want to be seen or heard. And so in going back and working through that, and I understood exactly where that belief came from, when I cleared it out in doing the work and releasing the stuck energy of that, I had friends come over for dinner that evening. And it so happened, and I said, I'm prepared to be seen and heard. I'm ready for that. And that very evening, when they came over for dinner, my friend, out of the blue, said to me, I have a group of women that's coming over to my house tomorrow. Will you please come over and give them a talk for at least a couple of minutes? Mm-hmm. And so it was like instantaneous. It was that day, just a few hours later. Fantastic. So, and to the point of also, which I really like about the frequency, mm-hmm. I like to say that it's kind of like the universe doesn't judge what you're putting out there, whether it's good or bad for you. Right. It just recognizes the frequency and matches it up.
Right.
Kind of like when you place an order with Amazon, you never get an email saying, "Are you sure you want that?"
Exactly.
You just get your order. So that's your personal order that you're placing with the
Yes.
universe.
Fantastic. That's
Yeah.
great. Great way to, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry, and one question.
Sure.
I had always felt that 0 point is something one reaches, say, in meditation. But can you expand on that and how that can be done, if possible, even during waking hours?
Sure.
Thanks.
Sure. Well, 0 point is really just ultimate presence. So it's addressing your thoughts and getting them quiet. That's really what it is. I mean, once you can get the chatter to stop, then you are very present. It's amazing what happens at that point too, because now I don't know, maybe Michaela, you might talk about this a little bit as well, but I don't know if it's different for you. But for me, at that 0 point is really where all information comes in. I mean, one of the ways in which I work and has happened to me forever is that I just know things. And I remember saying, like, well, somebody had to write the book, why not me? You know, why does it have to come from a book? And, you know, all information has to come from somewhere. So it's all like downloaded, you know, into you. And I just totally got sidetracked on what I was saying. I'm sorry. It just like left me.
0 point.
Yes, in the 0 point. So it's funny, when if anybody goes into thought into their head, it literally takes me out of this energy, which is what I'll talk about. This is what's funny. And this is something that if you work with me in a private session, you'll hear me do this a lot, where when we're not in our heads, and I feel this, so if I'm working with you and I'm in the energy, this has just happened to me, so this is great to say this. When I'm in energy, which is basically like I'm in my heart and I'm not narrowing my thought into what I think I'm supposed to do, it's like this giant space of information is available and I have all things are there. But the minute that you narrow your thought into just like a thought, just listening, it takes all that and just stops it. And that's literally what happens to me. If I'm talking to someone, which you may have done, it's like you so wanted to know an answer or something. If somebody wants to know that, they just go boom into their head instead of relaxing into their heart. And this takes you out of 0 point, basically. So when you do that, what happens is that all that information just stops. And for me, it literally just drops me right out of the energy. And it just becomes flat until I sort of push back that mental, and it's like I literally am doing that because that's what it feels like. To me, because it's so limited, there's no life to it. It's exactly the blueprint. It's just a thought, so there's no life. So it literally, to me, is like you just went, boom, you took your heart out and you're just right here as this flat, empty, just space. It literally feels like that to me. And that is not, 0 point is when you are comfortably resting in your heart. That's different. And you can, yes, absolutely. Like your example about how you you said you wanted to be seen, you were afraid to be seen, right? But you wanted to do it. Well, even when I'm doing this, you know, it's like I have this great desire to present this information, but I could be very nervous, and I have in the past too. But how I overcame that initially is just dropping into my heart. And I do this practice too, which I suggest a lot, is I say, I don't want to think it, I want to know it, I want to feel it. And that's real different. Just ask yourself that. Just do that over and over again about anything. Just say, I don't want to think it. Because thinking it like squeezes it and makes you, but then just say, no, I want to know it. And for me, it literally goes from this to this. I feel this energy open, and these downloads will just come in because, you know, we are all very unique aspects of Source, and you do all have a very unique reason for being here. and you have a higher consciousness that is speaking to you.
I just wanted to say I had a session with Cathleena last night, and it was just really incredible. I'd like to say that, you know, I feel like a different person, but I can actually say I am a different person because of it. I've never experienced anything like that before, and like all day today, the only way I can describe it is just feeling buoyant is the word, because a lot of things were shed. And I think that what you get to when you work one-on-one with someone is these beliefs and shedding these beliefs. But, you know, so many of us have trauma, and I'm not talking about necessarily big trauma, it could be, but when you're talking about how our beliefs are shaped, and we carry these things, and we don't realize how they are our default programs. And so sometimes we need a little extra help in purging these things. I'm getting emotional because it really was an emotional experience. Because I have struggled a long time with trying to find that authentic self, that blueprint, and getting in touch with that. And it's hard to do that sometimes on our own. You know, I've been studying these kind of things for a very long time. And so anyways, I just wanted to get to that, but I also wanted to ask a question, like for people who maybe are struggling with like subconscious things that we're not even aware of, or past life things we're certainly not aware of, like is just getting to that 0 point, is that enough to release these things, even if we don't even know consciously what we're dealing with?
Yes, it is enough to do that, but again, it's a practice. So like doing this takes you to that 0 point and definitely clears out this field. But there's still a practice that one would need to do, you know, in your own self, to be asking yourself. It's like you've got to become the conscious observer of yourself. And this is really different than being yourself. And kind of get into this a little bit. A lot of subconscious beliefs, particularly in this lifetime, are coming from chronological ages in your actual development, where you took in belief systems of kind of major categories, so to speak. And like I said before, everything is about patterns. So we have, if you say at a young age take in a belief system, say at the age of 10, you take in a belief system about relationship, and say you take in a belief system about relationship that says that in order to have a relationship, I have to lose myself. Well, first of all, relationship is relationship in your life. So the same relationship that you have with your body, you have with your partner, you have with money, it's all the same. It's going to be a pattern. And what happens is that 10-year-old that takes in this belief system that says, in order to have a relationship, I have to lose myself. Well, that 10-year-old goes into his or her head with that belief. And that 10-year-old in his or her head is now in your head, reaching out for a match all the time in your life, because it's a frequency. So every time you come up to relationship, it's always going to go to, that's called a set point. It's always going to go to that point, no matter what you do. So you have to, and you can literally change your past by, you wake up basically that part of yourself, and you bring that part into your own heart to now experience what relationship is really. This again is this idea of 0 point, you know? It's like, so how do you do that? Now I do that. If you came as a session, I would do that. I'd take you into the energy and we'd do this. But even on your own, how you would begin to do that is by becoming the observer of yourself. And if you can do that at times, if you can begin to, when you're feeling any kind of insecurities or upset or anything like that, if you can bring yourself just into the moment, and I wrote a small book that's called The Pocket Guide to Presence, and it's actually an ebook, and it talks about some techniques about getting and staying present. And some of the things are just like feel your feet on the floor. You know, if you wake up in the morning, you know, feel your sheets, put your feet on the floor. When your head takes off in your day, come back and do this. If you practice that kind of thing, then you have this awareness of this now, right? So when you have these subconscious belief systems, if you become aware that something has happened to you, you'll become aware that you're not the age that you are. I mean, even if you reflect back, you'll realize I was younger or something, you know, because I ask people this a lot. I go, now, how old are you really there? You know, because most relationships actually are teens together. We don't really go past that for different things that are going on. You see what I mean? So you do need to become, it's all about just really imagining you're kind of over here and you're experiencing yourself. Just practice that. Experience myself, experience my own thoughts, experience what is my dominant thought. You know, instead of feeling it is me. Make sense? It gets easier. But it has to be a practice. You know, once you've done it a bit, it gets easier because it'll start coming forward really fast. You know, once you're able to observe yourself, you'll be like, oh, and then you'll have maybe a memory with it or whatever happens, and you can process that through. If you allow for those emotions to just move, not get stuck in them, that's the thing. Once you grab hold of them, you're holding on to that frequency and you're going to match that frequency. We are energy beings having a physical experience. We are only here for the experience. There is no outcome. When we can really get that, this becomes easier. Right? Because then there's no embarrassment or whatever, you know, it's just an experience.
Where does purpose fit in all this?
I'm sorry?
Where does purpose fit in all this?
Purpose, like your purpose?
Yeah.
Well, your purpose is yours, whatever it is that your unique signature chooses to experience.
But I thought you just said, it sounded like you said that experience is like...
You're only here for the experience. You are only here for the experience.
There's no end? There's no purpose fulfillment?
If your purpose fulfillment in terms of some task for you that the world is judging, no. You get to decide that based on your unique signature of what your purpose is. It's unique to you based on your experience of what you're choosing.
So there is no failure.
Exactly.
So I think that's what a big obstacle for a lot of people is the fear of failure.
Right.
And when you can remove that and just say, well, it's experience.
Exactly. Exactly. That's great. Yes, there is no failure. It's just experience. And the more that you allow your unique signature to show up, the greater your experience is.
So how do you know that you are playing in your own unique signature at any given moment? How do you recognize whether you're in or out?
How do I, or?
Can you repeat?
She said, how do you know whether I know if I'm in or out of my unique signature? Well, for me, it's all about how I feel, right? If I feel afraid or small or little, I'm not in my unique signature. Yes?
You said something about when you wake up in the morning, you're maybe having fear or feeling small or something like that. So my question is then,
have you, made a conscious decision to have some different self-talk, or what?
What I was saying is to pay attention to what your dominant thought is when you wake up.
Right, and if you think that's not constructive, then you have to change it. No?
Well, to me, in the statement, if I think it's not constructive, means that I'm judging my own thought. So therefore, I'm really not observing it. I'm more in a judgment of my own thought. So I'm still in the cycle.
Okay.
So what I'm referring to for myself is to pay attention to what is my dominant thought and what's the frequency related to that.
And then once you know that, then what?
Well, then for me, I made a decision on, do I want to align with that or not? And when I recognized that, in my case, I first recognized that I was aligning to it and that I had comfort in it because I had to get truthful. It's about truth. I think when you get honest with yourself about what's really happening to you, because everything's about frequencies and energies, so we have a tremendous amount of influences that are around us. And it's like, in order to be authentic, it's like not being influenced, so to speak, by any of these energies around you. It's that you are simply moving as your unique signature amongst these frequencies versus being bounced around by them. And sometimes we're bounced around by them and we say, I don't like it, because we genuinely don't like it. And then, therefore, we can get present. But in my case, I was saying I began to realize that I did have comfort in that. And that's what I had to really look at, like, do I want that? Once I recognized that I did have comfort in feeling like I was less than something, and then I took a look at that and went, oh, wait, no, I don't want that. And once I did that, then it was like all of the reasons for that began to flow through me, and a tremendous amount of emotions began to come out until they got to a point of I became very present, where there wasn't any more to work out.
So you didn't replace it with something. You just
That's a key. Do not replace. That is something very important. It's that we simply stop it and don't replace it. Exactly. That's a 0 point. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Do not replace it with something. Because that's only filling up with another energy or frequency. And that's, again, what we're taught to do, though, is, right, in order to get myself out of something, I got to put myself in something. No, just simply stop it. And then everything opens up.
Is that similar to surrender in a sense, or how is that different than surrender?
Well, let's think about that. Surrender, well, if you're using the term surrender, and language can be very challenging because, it depends on how you identify the word. But if you use the word surrender as in giving in to something, then you're aligning with it. But if surrender is simply being, then yes, that is that sense of presence. Sure.
I've heard it said you could put on good music to shift your frequency, but you're saying don't shift it to something else. Just notice the frequency that you wake up with in the morning. If it's something that's not helpful.
Yes, absolutely.
Just notice it.
Yes. There's a difference between, again, using the term shift, right? We don't want to shift. We can experience, like through meditations, where it's enhancing where I am. If I'm in a 0 point or I'm bringing in pure source frequency and I'm enhancing that, that's one thing. But the idea of shifting means that I'm just moving from one to the other, right? I'm not in 0 point basically feeling what is me, of what I desire, right? You see what I mean? That's a difference. Does that make sense? So sort of to sum all this up, this idea of truth, since this talk is about truth and reestablishing instant manifestation, is that truth is a frequency on this planet. And this is different from human truth. And this is where we get hung up, because your brains are going, truth, okay, what's truth? Truth is, false, or truth, this kind of thing. And that's not true about what truth. Truth as a frequency is this awareness, or this absolute place that no thing exists until something exists. And if you can just really take that concept in, that literally frees you up. It literally allows for instant manifestation. It allows for you to have your dreams, to create, to do whatever you desire, because there's nothing in the way. This is the absolute truth of your existence. It's all just things that we're taught, and so we end up from the very beginning altering, pulling in stuff to get in our way. And we don't even realize we're doing that. Well, what if we just didn't? So if you guys all left here today and began to practice, first in the morning, what is my dominant thought? Because that's something that you've pulled in as a belief system. And you begin to just experience that, your whole world's going to begin to change. And the
Experience our dominant thought.
You experience your dominant thought, and then you decide whether you want to experience that or not. What is it? What is your dominant thought? Yes?
You make a judgment whether you want to maintain that or not.
No, it's not. If you're making a judgment, then you're in that energy of whatever that thought is. You're simply experiencing. You're experiencing yourself. Just begin to experience yourself and see what frequency that is. And once you recognize the frequency, that's when you ask yourself, do I want that?
Right, it's a judgment. Choice.
It's a choice, it's an experience.
And then you just tell yourself to stop thinking that.
You have to get to a surrender place and a 0 point first. I feel you're struggling a bit with this.
Would it be something like experiencing that thought, the feelings that come up and are associated with that thought?
Yes.
And simply just being with whatever it feels like, whether it's
Yes.
good, whether it's bad, whether it's ugly, messy, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Just simply sitting in that and feeling it to completion, where you're not generating it by more thoughts and adding to the story and if he didn't, she didn't, it's this, it's that. Just simply being present in your body, experiencing it until there's nothing left to experience.
Exactly.
So it's until completion.
Exactly.
That's the still point.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that point, you make the choice.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to have that experience again?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I going to choose a different experience?
Exactly.
And so by choosing a different experience, you are then choosing a different thought pattern. Would that be
Yes, exactly. That was beautifully put. Thank you. Yes.
Something that I've been playing with to get into the quantum field.
Mm-hmm.
Thing that I've been playing with to get into the quantum field and the 0 point is to be in the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wonder what's going to happen next.
Exactly.
Because that takes you away from trying to project what's going to happen next, what you expect is going to happen next, all those thoughts that are telling you it's going to suck, what's going to happen next. So I've been playing with that. Like, wow, like, I don't know what my soul planned next, but this is going to be pretty interesting. I don't know how this is going to resolve, but it's gonna, but I don't really know how.
Yes.
Like, and that gets me right out of that loophole where you're just like spinning in the mind, because I can be a really mentally focused person.
Yeah.
And get into the unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. And you know, but some people, why I said about the dominant thought is that there are a lot of people that can't get there because they don't recognize that they've got this thought playing out that's under the surface. And that's really what you want to become aware of is, do I have something that's playing out under the surface? Because that's happening to me. I mean, I had all this playing and excitement and all this stuff going on, and yet I began to recognize it. And what I did is I felt it first. I felt this tension that kept showing up. I'm like, why is this here? Everything's good in my life. What's going on? And then I began to evaluate it. And that's when I noticed that I had this energy going on, you know, and that's when I began to release it. And this is something that I think is really important, because it's hard for individuals to get to that real creative place if they've got something playing out that they don't know that's playing out. So that's beautiful. So thank you.
They're called mind loops.
Yes, exactly. Mind loops.
And Eckhart Tolle says those mind loops can trigger your pain body.
Yes.
And therein lies the pain body, is where you get lost again when you think you got rid of it, which will drive you nuts, which drives me nuts. And so she's saying go to 0 point. However, what he says is pride yourself on being aware of it. Now you're aware of it, like you're over here watching you do it. So now that you're aware of it, you're observing it, and you don't choose that anymore. So once you're aware of it, you can push it away and go to 0 point and bring whatever creation you want into reality. But it's practice.
Yes, and that is what I'm saying. Well, that's exactly what I'm saying, though, is you become aware of it, and then you observe it, and that's when you decide, yes.
But I wanted to, you know, the great term for me in Tolle is the trigger of the pain body, because it's painful. It's like it happened yesterday, and it might have happened 40 years ago. It's the same thing over and over and over again. That's why the density where you gave, you know, I went through my head and gave every conflict I ever had. And I think that's why Barb said, oh my God, there's a huge smoking ball. That was me, I thought. You know, 95 guys I had conflict with.
That's great.
I'm struggling with the completion thing now. But I appreciate you bringing to my attention of a dominant thought first thing in the morning, and I instantly knew what it was.
Great.
It's not fear, but it's overwhelm. There's too much to do.
Well, that's fantastic. It's
a
beginning.
I don't know what to do about it. But we can talk later.
Sure. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate you guys being here, and it's been incredible for me, and I hope that you enjoyed the information. And I do, and everybody who's here on Facebook, thank you. And so,
Thank you.